Indictment named Chicago police officer Kevin Rodriguez and an accomplice, Diego Valdez, charging the duo for conspiring to unlawfully purchase firearms that were ultimately smuggled into Mexico. A 9-page federal indictment unsealed Tuesday in federal court accuses Kevin Rodriguez of using his position as a Chicago police officer to purchase an AR-15 style assault rifle in Dyer, Indiana, and a handgun in Monee. Prosecutors allege Rodriguez lied on federal paperwork, saying he was the actual buyer of the firearms, all in an effort to purchase guns which are not available to ordinary citizens under Illinois law. Instead, prosecutors say Rodriguez purchased them for Diego Valdez, an accomplice who allegedly identified the weapons he wanted and then paid Rodriguez to purchase them.
There's a reason why these guns are limited in circulation or for sale. There's a reason why a Chicago police officer can use his status only for appropriate purposes. He's abusing that here.
The indictment states Valdez sent thousands of dollars in Zelle transfers to Rodriguez in return for purchasing the guns on Valdez's behalf. 2 months after the transactions, Valdez is accused of smuggling the guns into Mexico. Meanwhile, a search of Rodriguez's record as a Chicago cop shows he's been the subject of at least 9 misconduct complaints since joining the force in 2019.
We got to figure out how to get these people out of there sooner rather than later. And again, I try to be as objective as possible. I got my opinion on the fact that I think that most police officers are good and they get a bad rap. But part of that is because they have bad apples inside of different departments, and no surprise, it's in Chicago. They have bad apples that are a part of departments that I think that contribute to the violence that we see both here in America and abroad. He is using his position and his police officer power to be able to purchase certain things, and then they're smuggling them over into Mexico. I'd have no doubt in my mind that some of these guns probably ended up on the streets of Chicago or somewhere else inside of the United States of America. And not only that, he's profiting off of it as far as making money off of using his position. And then he got all of these complaints, which I know that the police unions are very strong, and it kind of reminds me of the union when I was working in the steel mill, and that the union, it seems like, has changed to where it protects people who don't even necessarily need to be there, and they spend the majority of their time and their resources on defending people and keeping jobs for people that should have been fired a long time ago. I don't support this. I think that it's absolutely horrible, and I think that he needs to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law because he used his position of privilege and power to do the worst to the communities. And it doesn't matter if it was only smuggled over into Mexico and it didn't necessarily end up on the streets inside of Chicago or any other place inside of the United States of America. This type of corruption needs to be rooted out. Let me say it again for the people in the back. This type of corruption should be rooted out. And the only way you're going to root it out is the same way that I say that people that commit crimes against us, like the regular everyday citizens or these YNs that's running in the streets or these shooters that like to be with people that look like them and all of this stuff, and they've been indoctrinated by the left. All of these people need to, including police officers that are caught doing stuff like this, he needs to be thrown under the jail, and he needs to be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law, because you have to make an example out of certain people so that you prevent it from happening in other places. Often at times, these people are tempted by the money. And when you get people that have a love of money, because money itself is not a problem, it's a tool. It's a tool that keeps us from killing each other, and we can be able to exchange currency, you know what I'm saying, so that we can be able to exchange goods and services without having to necessarily have something major to do so. However, when you see people that have a love of money, meaning they'll do anything for it, including sacrifice other people's lives, going against the law, and more importantly, buying guns so that they can be smuggled into other places, I would venture to say that he probably doesn't even know where it ended up. Because as long as it's off of American soil, it could probably not be traced. Obviously, filing serial numbers and all of that other type of stuff. I don't think he cared. He don't care if it was used to kill somebody. He don't care if somebody's family member was going to be taken as a part of it. The only thing he cared about is being a gun trafficker, and then ultimately allowing for that, his position, He was going to use that as leverage to enrich himself no matter what the repercussions was. And you got to get them type of people up out of here. You got to get them type of people about it. And the worst part about it is that he's using his position and he's using the authority given to him to embarrass his colleagues. I would have you to know that I had this story a little while ago. And it was sent to me by people that are in the Chicago Police Department. Because this is how I know that all police officers aren't bad, and you got to identify them individually the same way that you do people in the community, and you can't just hit a blanket statement and say all of these people are racist or all of this. No, it's the culture. It's the culture that is bad. And so, he used this position to embarrass his colleagues. He's using his position to do the worst things for against people. And I'm glad that he's being outed, and I'm glad that this is being posted, and it needs to be posted everywhere. People need to do reports on this. Conservatives, liberals, people that point out the worst for the community, they need to be objective and looking at it from both sides. This guy needs to be held accountable, and it's the worst because I'm a huge supporter and proponent for police officers because they're at the front lines of what happens in the community.
According to the Office of the Inspector General, one of those complaints stemming from improper pursuit of a suspect in 2022, resulting in a 4-day suspension.
We're seeing, again, if true, a conduct that's more serious than anything I'm sure he's been accused of before.
In response to his indictment, Chicago police say Rodriguez was immediately placed on no pay status, but that his police powers were suspended on July 3rd. The statement from CPD also reads, "The Chicago Police Department has no tolerance for criminal actions by any of our members. The alleged actions of this one police officer do not represent the life-saving work being done by our department." Both Rodriguez and Valdez pleaded not guilty and were released. We reached out to attorneys for both men. Attorneys for Rodriguez did not get back to us, while Valdez's representation declined to comment. A status hearing is set for October.
Yo, no. That's not enough. I don't even know how these guys are released. If he's able to smuggle guns into Mexico, because I've seen people held for less. If he's able to smuggle guns into Mexico, and both of their last names indicate that they are possibly Mexican, right? Then they need to be held without bail. Why are these people being released and they're smuggling guns into Mexico? Smuggling weapons to be used probably by the cartel or probably by people that are less than ideal into Mexico for profit. Ain't no way in the world. You'll probably never hear about this story again. It'll probably be swept under the rug. We probably never hear nothing about it. We don't know if he's going to be convicted. We don't know if he's going to skip bail. None of that stuff. Because a lot of these things go unnoticed once we move over to other stories and things like that. I'm going to make it my personal mission to stay on top of this thing, because when you get a position of power or you get a position of authority, you have to wield that carefully and you have to be above reproach. This is why I tell certain people, hey, you don't want to get into leadership because I know that the money looks good to you, but I'm not sure that your character is prepared to deal with the stuff that goes along with leadership. I'm not sure if you're prepared to truly take on that responsibility. All money ain't good money, especially if you can't handle it or it's going to result in you doing something that you're not supposed to do. Compromising your morals and your integrity. Compromising what you truly believe. You can't have this type of activity in our society. And I don't know why they getting off and able to go home, but neither here nor there. Let me know what y'all think inside of the comments. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. T. Chanley. 40% off your first order, 20% off for life. I love y'all. Appreciate you. I'll holler at you guys later. Peace.